Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon. So today we're going to be coaching someone we've previously coached who's hit Challenger in the past, who's currently Grandmaster. And we're going to be talking to them kind of a lot about how to play snowballing champions, especially because he's doing Draven in the first game, the second game's Corki. But really kind of focused on understanding snowballing, what you need to take track of, like jungle tracking and some of these other important things. And then just generally giving, you know, some advice to a bit of a higher level player so you guys can see what a little bit of a higher level ADC would sort of need to work on to then maybe get into, you know, Challenger a lot or Sovereign or that type of thing. So if you guys are interested in coaching from a rank 5 autofill Sovereign player like myself, just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or through the link in the description to my Discord server. You can find me there as well. It's just $15 for an hour of coaching. We basically just review 2 games, then I write some notes, and then that's pretty much how it goes. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you later.
Okay, perfect. All right, yeah, so I had a losing streak just recently, so I had to... it dropped again, but it is what it is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I have 2 games that I would like to review. So one would be a Draven game, a nice Draven game, just overall. So my issue, so the reason why I wanted this coaching call is because I've seen other Draven mains, like the top 10 Dravens, and they will also have like hundreds and thousands of games, and they will average very high damage, like a average damage, like 30k, 33, 35k. And my Draven, I believe I have over 1,000 games with Draven, and I only average like 20, 24, 25,000.
Yeah.
Right. So my damage is way lower than these other Dravens who also have like a bunch of games as well. So I would just like to know, okay, what should I maybe farm less? What's the deal there? So yeah. Maybe let's just start with the Draven game first.
Sure. I mean, my concern is never like, damn, I've never once looked at a damage number that I do and been like, I need to change this. Like, that is, in my opinion, completely irrelevant. Now, like, does that maybe indicate they're being more useful than you if they're doing more damage? Yeah, but like, it's probably more something leading up to that, as in like you're making a wrong decision to not be able to fight as much, or maybe they're, you know, playing more aggressive lanes early, like you're playing, you know, Draven Melio, for example. If they're playing like Draven Thresh every game, probably going to be dealing more damage because they're going to be fighting more, like just depending on this type of thing too. I mean, there's a lot of, you know, things obviously we'll see in the gameplay what specifically ends up looking at, like, yeah.
Yeah. Can you also hear?
Yeah, I hear everything. It's good.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, obviously this is a good start, you know, definitely. Do you have the vision off, by the way? Yeah, I think you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like, you understand Draven's kind of limits really well. So I'd imagine a lot of the issues are not like, you know, can I kill or can I not kill there? So you end up getting like a really big lead there. I mean, one thing you could do here, because you are pretty low and you kind of do want to recall, is like crash this wave really quickly and then immediately recall, because then you should have enough for like a longsword, and then you just have like that slight advantage, like gold wise, to get a recall off, rather than like staying for a super long time on something you can't really probably punish that hard.
Yeah.
So that's probably what I would try to look for here, is just pushing really quick.
Got it.
Because I think definitely one of the main things I do see with like a lot of Dravens is just like they try so hard to fight everything, or like here, like there's no reason for you to walk up and fight like this. Like if he ends up inting, you know, like we got lucky that he eased forward for no reason, but like realistically he was in a great spot to just poke you out, outrange you, and like make your game really annoying, and you would be able to do nothing. But if you just took that recall and lost like, you know, 100 gold maybe from 2 minions max, then you'd create a really good situation for yourself where you can just get back in the lane. You have, like I said, the item advantage, probably the health lead, or if they recalled, then you would get this plate that you just got, because they would have recalled, you'd crash the wave, you get the plate. So you'd be in the same result, but it's just less risky, and you're still going to be able to create like a good kill opportunity for yourself. Whereas what you're doing is basically, I hope that they mechanically fuck up and then I can kill them because they mess up. And like, luckily he did mess up, so you end up getting his flash, but like that's not consistent and not going to work into a player who doesn't suck like the Ezreal does. So
yeah, got it.
And then yeah, you should probably just try to push this lane, like I would imagine, rather than just kind of keeping it here. I don't feel like we're going to get that much value because we don't know where their jungle is, so it's like I'd rather try to push the wave and then be able to get vision on their jungle, and then we end up seeing, you know, kind of what happens is something similar where we end up getting ganked, right? And the reason that I would think that would make sense is you were aggressive early, your jungle path towards you, you didn't see their jungle once. So most likely their jungle's opposite side of your jungle. So because of that, you can build
Yes.
right. You see your jungle one side, they're going to be the other. And so when you're in a situation like that, a lot of people think the best thing to do is to freeze, but that's completely incorrect. Because if you freeze like you did, their jungle is going to be level 5 and you're going to be level 4 because you haven't killed the most recent wave, whereas they have killed their camp. So then they're going to be stronger than you, and then they have the opportunity to dive you on a timer like that. Whereas if you push, you get level 5, you have more damage, more resistances, and then you also have the wave pushing to give you vision of the enemy and then to go rotate and ward something. Where the enemy, you know, ADC and support will be pushed under their tower, so they're not going to be able to follow up as easily. So that's why generally when you're getting ganked, if you have your flash and your cleanse and whatever, it's actually okay to push and have prio. Obviously, if you had no flash, you have no cleanse, you have nothing, like maybe then you're going to try to keep the wave a bit more, you know, close to you.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, I see.
So yeah, main 2 things early game so far. If we, you know, if you see a kill angle, obviously you know your champion's damage well, go for it, but don't try so hard to rely on the enemy making mistakes. If you can create a quick back timer and then get an advantage, you know, on like say level 3, level 4, rather than just always trying to kill level 1 every time, like that can work out well, and we can look for those types of opportunities and then pay more attention to jungle pathing, because with a champion like Draven who's so aggressive, you have to really track jungle well, or else you're going to just get like, you know, screwed over in a lot of games. So
Yes, yeah, I noticed that.
and then here is kind of a weird situation. Maybe you can kill Seraphine, but we did kind of see them all there, so it's kind of a scary thing, but it might work out pretty
Yes. Yeah, only 1 kill.
well. I mean, it's not bad because you get your cash in, because yeah, you haven't died yet, so I mean it's fine for you to do that at that point, like to just go for the kill. Very weird situation, but yeah. I mean, like I said, like your mechanics, obviously, I mean, you've played over 1,000 games as a champion. You're like very good on it. You understand your damage. So yeah, it's definitely like those, creating those opportunities to just not have like every game be like, oh, I have to win in 5 minutes. Because you'll watch like a lot of like, obviously this is more competitive play, so it's a little different. But when people are playing Draven in like League of Legends competitive or whatever, like Han Sama's like a player who's like a Draven main. And when he's playing it, you'll see a lot of times he'll be 0-0-0 for the first like 15 minutes of the game, which obviously in our terms is more like say 5 to 10 minutes of the game. And then he'll get 1 kill, and all of a sudden he's the strongest person in the game because he has so many, you know, stacks, right? So like just understanding that is something that I think is the main thing. But overall, your early game is still like solid, and the way you play the lane is fine. Are you duo, by the way, or is it solo queue?
Yes, this is duo with
Gotcha.
Milia.
And then yeah, there's not much you can do. I mean, at this point, you shouldn't really try to fight though. Like their jungle's on this side, their cat's here. You just go for the wave. Really, again, like stop focusing on the fight, just focus on the wave. When you're in this type of situation, and obviously now they come, so you can't really stay on the wave. But like when they're in a position where they just have the, like say your teammate goes Herald or your teammate dies like they did on Dragon, and you know the enemy's on Dragon, your goal is just to again push the wave. Like any time that you're on the weak side basically of the map, you're just trying to get that wave pushed, because then if the wave is pushed, they can't pressure your turret, they can't dive you, they can't really do anything. So I did not think you had the damage for that. That's insane. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy actually.
Yeah, I'm running Conqueror this game because they have so many squishies.
What makes you want to run Conqueror into squishies specifically?
Because in the late game, I'm able to 2 to 3 shot them with the build that I run.
What's the
So I
other
go
rune that you would go apart from Conqueror?
I don't know what what its name. So on all 3 on the left side of the I believe the yellow rune page.
Empowerment, or I don't know. So, like I mean like your main rune. Like what would your other, apart from Conqueror, what would your other main rune?
Lethal Tempo.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know people really went lethal tempo on Draven. I mean, I never see Draven, and I never play him, so definitely like something like I mean, champion specific things aren't really, you know, what I'm here to coach on anyway, because there's not much I can tell in a 1,000-game Draven player. So yeah, it is definitely those couple things like understand, because when I play, you know, I play a lot of early game like champions in general and ADC and everything, and that is definitely the main thing, is understanding these timers, because people always have this like obsession with forcing as much as they can in the early game, and then again, because you're not on the wave first here and the enemy have wave control, this is why it's easy to dive you and why it's easy for the enemy to poke you. Like, again, Ezreal loves when you're under your tower or when you have no minions, because he can just completely trade on you, and so you end up getting put in a situation like this. And is it completely your fault that there's 4 people diving? No, obviously it's not your fault that there's 4 people diving you, right? Like that's hard as well. But it's kind of the same situation we find ourselves in before.
Yeah.
So honestly, at this point, you're going to lose this tower. you have to try to find a way to break open the game because you're strong still, but everyone else is pretty weak. So the most likely thing that I'd try to do in a situation like this is try to create some type of play on the opposite side of where the enemy's going to be. So I'd get this wave, I would push the next wave, and then you might want to go aggro on this top side wave because you know Amumu's probably going bot side based on the fact that he was top side for a while, you know, ganking you and everything. And then after this wave, maybe you're aggressive on the next wave we see here, like you look for a trade or something, and maybe you have an item, so you're waiting. Yeah, and we see Cat as well, so you know, can't do it in this, but you can see how we found Amumu now on bottom side. So we're kind of basing our aggression to be on the opposite side of where Amumu is. And again, in this situation, ended up being you couldn't do that. But you're trying to find these waves to play on where you can 2v2 because you're champion, you know, you're still really strong. You're obviously very good at fighting in the early game. But you don't want to spend a lot of time in mid lane when it's a game like this because you, again, want to create those angles where, like, one person ints into you and then all of a sudden you're getting a huge lead, you know, blowing open the game because you're going to have to solo carry. And so what you could have done is, again, you walked towards the Amumu. We should have pushed that mid wave, go top side, and try to break open the top side. And, you know, luckily it kind of works out here, right? So, like, that's great that this works out. But their jungle's there. They have more people stacking there. You have an easy, you know, turret, like a wave by that turret before it got killed on top side, and a pretty easy opportunity to kill the Seraphine without the jungle being nearby. And that's going to be a more like consistent play that's going to work out. Again, this play works out great, which is obviously really good. And then again, you should probably just go for the turret, and then after you get it, you go back to bot side because we don't really want to fight Dragon at this point because we're behind a lot. So again, you're just trying to be opposite of Amumu. So I would say, yeah, definitely like jungle pathing is the main thing. Because like you're a good player, right? You don't need like a million different tips. You understand most of the things about your champion well. So the things I really want you to focus on is understanding games where you're really strong, because that's going to happen a lot on Draven. When you're really strong and maybe your team's not, just by the nature of the champion, you need to create a lot of opportunities to be away from the jungle until you know, get so fed that now you're like, okay, I just hit this item on this, like, I don't know what your items are right now, you can check. Like, maybe if you just hit a certain item spike, yeah, but you didn't. Like, you're 2.5 items. If, say you'd hit your, I think that's collector or whatever it is, not collector, I don't know what you're building. Infinity Edge. But
yes, I'm building Infinity Edge next.
yeah, so say you hit your Infinity Edge, like, then I would want to fight here. But I don't want you fighting on this dragon where you're not hitting any specific power spike. You're just 2.5 items, which most people are going to be 2 items here. So it's not like you're crazy strong. Your team's overall not doing very well in the fights. Again, it works out. I'm not going to be results based when I'm like approaching these decisions. I want us to be at the strongest point that we can be. And I think the strongest point that you could hit is hitting that Infinity Edge and then fighting on that specific power spike, because that's where you're actually going to be able to blow open the game when it was going poorly. Now you end up winning a fight while you're down 2k gold, which is great. And obviously, like, you know, you weren't down so much that it was unwinnable. But we already, like, could have just gone bot side, gotten more gold there, then created a lot more gold, and just generally, again, been on opposite side of the jungle more often. So.
I see, yes. Yeah. Okay, got it.
So yeah, that, and then, again, understanding the wave control, which, again, does relate to jungle, but, like, keeping the wave pushed, especially in matchups like Into and Ezreal, because Into and Ezreal, you know, you're really using the minions as protection, so when he gets kind of poke on, or like pressure under your turret, then you get outranged and it's just kind of bad from there. So that's also like an important thing, is to understand kind of different matchups. Like if you're in a matchup into a shorter range AD carry that you beat early game, like let's say you're playing and you have like a more aggressive support. So say you had like a Thresh or, you know, a Nautilus, whatever, and they had, I don't know, Vayne and Yuumi. Freezing a lot is really good because if every time they walk up, they're short range and they get completely fucked by you. But into a champion like Ezreal, he has his third ability to escape, so it's not that hard. You don't have an aggressive support, so like it's not like you're baiting them into getting hooked. You're just baiting them into getting Melio like cute or whatever the ability is. It's not like a big deal. And so what's more important with these enchanters and these more poke kind of focused or like range focused matchups is having the level lead or the minion lead, because then the minions will hit the enemy more, you know, or the fact that you're higher level gives you the stats. Does that kind of make sense, like the difference in types of matchups?
Yes, absolutely. Matchups is usually also my issue, that I don't quite know how to play the lane against certain matchups.
Yeah, so you can generally think about it, like the easiest way to think about it is just sort of like, is your goal kind of poke people or is your goal all in? Generally, Draven's looking for all ins, and so you're trying to create opportunities to all in most of the time. And so for you, you're going to obviously want to create all in opportunities, especially with a support like a Thresh. Obviously, this is just kind of greedy where you walk here, so not much specific to learn from it. It works out fine, I guess, as well. But yeah, when you're like trying to really create these all-in angles, you see like, again, kind of easy matchups to just you know you can win, because you know your limits of your champion pretty well. You know you can just go all in on them. You're gonna try to use, you know, your wave management to potentially freeze them more. But if you're into a lot of poke matchups, they like having, you know, this minion push and using the minions to just continue like keeping you under your turret and poking you. So
Yeah.
oh, did you think someone was in the bush? That's fine. Yeah, I assume you can get Baron after this. Or your jungle's dead actually, so maybe not. But
I think we still try it. I don't
I don't know if
remember.
you should really try without your jungle. That seems pretty greedy, especially into a cat arena.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you end up getting off. Probably just kill cat, so it's fine. Yeah. Ambion's damage is insane.
Yeah. This burst, I like it. This burst build
You
that
also should just
I
be
run.
recalling here, like, yeah, you do eventually. Like, it is just like no reason you couldn't have recalled and then came back. Like, obviously at this point now you're like, okay, now I have to stay, right? But if we just understood quicker, like, we need to be recalling so that we can set up for what actually matters, would have been nice, but doesn't really matter, right? Because they're mostly dead.
Yeah.
Just like these are like ways I see people throw a lot. They'll like win a fight and then they'll just overstay after that. But again, I mean, obviously it goes well still. And we should immediately
Yeah, that's
push
true.
bot as well. Like, we need to understand that we should be pushing bot right now. We're
Bot
getting
lane.
Baron, we're
Oh.
setting ourselves up for a Baron. So we're trying to get this Baron to be pushing as many waves as possible. So this camp doesn't do anything for you, but getting that bot wave pushing means that you're going to have more pressure on them, so then you don't have to go back to bot right away. You can then go through mid while still having the bot lane pushing pretty quickly, so someone on the enemy team has to respond, so then you get potentially like 5v4 on Dragon. And then because the top turret's up, you should be going topside as well. Like, normally I want you to play through mid, but this Dragon doesn't matter because each team has one. And so what actually matters is getting value from your Baron. So you should be going straight through topside here. Yeah?
Yeah, so what would sometimes happen is if I don't go there, they will just all die.
Well, you're still going to be in a position to go to the fight. And also, you could have been setting it up before the fight actually happened. Like, you could have pushed mid and pushed top as well. That'd be fine. And you just go through topside into mid. You ping your teammate. You also do it with your Melio, so your Melio will follow anyway. And you'll be perfectly fine. And even now, you should just go top now. Like, even if everything I said, whatever, you definitely need to be top now. We're just not getting actual value from the turrets. Instead, we're just A-ramming. And this is the easiest way to throw, because when you're so fed and the rest of your team's not that fed, and you just used your cleanse, one person catches you, you get one shot, the game is over. Now, that probably won't happen, right? You're fed enough, and you have Melio, you have, you know, Morgana, so you're probably not going to happen. But that's a typical way to throw, where now you see you're just all A-ramming, your bottom lane's getting pushed, your top lane's not pushing very fast, so now you're not getting nearly as much value out of this Baron as you should have. Where this Baron should have ended the game because top lane should be pushing, bottom lane should be pushing, but instead this game is lasting 2 more minutes because you guys are just A-ramming, hitting the next shield, which does absolutely nothing. Again, even now you could have walked outside. Once again, we see the exact same thing happening. And again, you're so fed it doesn't actually matter, right? But it could matter in a lot of games.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, those will be the 3 main things, and it kind of makes sense as well, because definitely the issue with people who play early game champions is closing out games. Again, you know how to get leads very well, and you're getting a lot of leads, and then the problem is
ending.
Yeah, definitely ending, and then again the jungle tracking relating both to how you manage your wave, understanding what specific lane matchups, which again, if you ever have like a specific confusion on a matchup, just ask me. Like, you can just DM me at a different time. If you're like, how does this matchup go, whatever. And then yeah, like as well, when you are behind, or when you're ahead, but your team is not very strong, you want to make sure you're trying to create a lot of opportunities to have like small skirmishes and fights rather than just 5v5 team fights, because you're usually going to lose those. And playing around your specific power spikes. So again, had you hit Infinity Edge on that timer, that'd be different. I definitely want you fighting, you know, that second dragon. But without Infinity Edge, it's not as important. So like item spikes matter a lot as well. But yeah. And again, your mechanics are good enough that a lot of times you're just going to outplay. So like that's why it's hard to always learn from these type of game, because it's like, well, I carried the game. I went like whatever, you're like 10, whatever you are, however many kills. And so it's like, it's hard to learn, right? Yeah, 13 kills. So it feels hard because it's like, obviously you're still carrying the game. You're doing a lot of good things, but since we're trying to learn from it, that's kind of the main thing. And I could see like throwing some games. So.
Yes.
And also, we'll see how you try to close this game out, because you get Baron. I assume you just go Elder after you end the game. I mean, the game ends in 30 seconds, so I guess you'd probably just get Baron and win the game, which is good. They FF? Like, is it really gonna end in 20 seconds? I don't know, maybe you can just end in 20 seconds if you kill them all. If you have a mid-wave.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah. So definitely just those three main things.
Yeah. Okay, got it.
Yeah, we'll write them down at the end, obviously, as well. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, well, the 1-5 is not particularly sexy. We could either, like, I would like to look at a Corki game, either the 8-5 one or the 13-5 one.
Yeah, I mean, you would know better than me which one you feel like is going to be more valuable, because I obviously haven't seen.
Yeah, this one, the last two deaths is quite sad.
Oh, gotcha.
So
I'm trying to remember, how does Corki get like the package thing now? Because I know like the package randomly drops, but how does it do that? I don't actually remember what the root work.
when he, yes, when I hit someone with the ult 6 times, then he gets the package.
Oh, okay, so just after you land 6 ults, you have to hit the same person 6 times. Like just after you land 6
No,
ults?
not the same person,
Yeah.
but just anyone, just
Okay.
any enemy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, like for example, this matchup, like your goal is just to get them pushed under their turret and poke them. Like your champion is more so just get pressure in the lane. You have healing as and you have like the range champion, right? So you're just trying to push the lane pretty hard, get vision of the enemy jungle early. I don't know why we start E and not Q. Like at the end, this is what is our goal. Our goal is to poke them early and then create an all-in angle maybe later once they're really low. So starting E does nothing for us because E is the all-in ability because it's, you know, the penetration or whatever. Like you should also, after you get the push in lane, you should ward. Because what does this actually do sitting under tower and poking them? If they didn't suck, you would take more damage than this. Like you're isolated, which is, you know, Kai'Sa likes when you're isolated, right? From your minions.
Yeah.
And she's going to easily be able to win that trade. And then Draven can hit you with E. I mean, again, they suck, so they don't. But now we don't have a ward on a camp, where right after you push that, because you had prio perfectly, you could ward a camp. And then you get instant information of exactly where the enemy jungle is. You would either know, you know, Krugs are taken, he started red side, or Krugs aren't taken, he started blue side. You would 100% know, and your next 3 minutes, you're completely safe because you know exactly where he is. And then here you randomly AFK, I guess, something happened. But,
No, I just didn't want to push because of Jarvan's all in.
Draven all in is not very scary at all early game. I mean, all he can do is EQ you. And then again, you're in minions, so you're not actually going to lose trades hard. You have healing, you have better poke, and you have a heal spell as well from your Nami. Like you win pretty much in all in at this point, as long as you don't let them, like, you don't win an all in, you win a relatively long trade. You just make sure you don't get like, Kai'Sa passive completely procced on you, and you're fine.
Yeah.
But even if she does proc it, she's not going to kill you. They just don't have the damage. And so again, it's matchup understanding really. Is like when you're playing a lot of these poke champion, and just generally, like if you don't know what to do, usually having prio is going to be good. But again, if you really, and I think that's where the like lack of understanding comes in. You're thinking like you have way less damage than you do, I guess, or that your champion's way weaker than it is. But you kind of need to understand like the specific spells here. So like if Jarvan EQs on you, you W and like away from his E, and it should never really hit you, and you should be completely fine. And then from there, like you're just hard winning the trade because again you have like the better overall damage and the range to run them down. With like Nami obviously is way higher range than Jarvan. So and again when you're pushing you're always getting the level diff, whereas like yeah like here you're gonna hit level 5 earlier, you're probably not hitting up this wave, but then the next wave if you have control over that you're gonna be hitting it. And again Jarvan just keeps doing these trades, it doesn't really do much, and you should just recall at this point because you have your mana boots, or not your mana boots, your Gluttonous Greaves or whatever we're buying. So.
I actually rush.
Essence Reaver?
Manamune.
Oh, Manamune.
Yeah.
I don't recommend that. I mean, I don't even recommend going Manamune personally as AD carry. Like, I recommend going the Essence Reaver crit build. Manamune for me is way better in mid lane when your goal is actually just a wave clear and poke. Definitely think that the Essence Reaver, like with the crit build, is a lot better right now. And also recalling on boots means you actually get to be a champion early game, whereas if we end up, and you're just staying around too long, like you should just recall on this wave, because the problem with, the problem with not recalling on this wave is then you don't get to come back in lane and get pressure over the lane, they get pressure, because you're going to recall late, so they can go on this next wave first, and obviously, you know, ganking is possible, which again, you would have known exactly what enemy jungle was if you'd warded when we said. So that's also another thing, but... Yeah, we can see jungle tracking is a major issue of you, and then the matchup understanding, just creating those early recall timers. Like if you don't see much that you can do early game, like you should almost never recall on 2,800 gold. You should almost always recall on 900 roughly. And maybe like if you get stuck in lane a little longer, you have a good kill angle, maybe like, you know, 13, 1400. And then that's going to give you the advantage. Whereas you're always just trying to get that advantage as early as possible, like playing like a Draven player, really. So, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, really, like, I think, like, when I'm just generally looking at your gameplay too, like, again, you're good at your champions, you're good at the game overall. The real issue is that you're just so aggressive all the time without really, like, specifically thinking about the factors in the game and letting that be the reason for your aggression. That's usually what I'll see with a lot of players who are, like, Grandmaster Challenger players, is, like, they're just going to do the same thing every game, and they're not actually going to be able to, like, look at the different details of the game. So the things that I really want you to, like, work on are, like, again, most of your fundamentals are fine. So things I want you thinking about is starting to understand, like, specific champion matchups, how specific champions want to play the game, taking into account jungle tracking, fixing your warding, which, again, having the prio early in the lane lets you ward enemy jungle. Like, do you understand well? Like, if you were able to get a ward on a jungle camp, say, you know, pre 1 minute or around 1 minute, would you be able to tell me exactly where the enemy jungle started and is going to end, or no?
No, with the timers, no.
Okay, so then that's something we'll probably explain in the notes, because it's easier to do that. So probably just remind me if I don't specifically talk about that. But that's something I really want to like instill in you. And then yeah, the matchup thing is like generally just having prio in most matchups is good, and the only time you really don't want prio is either when you know you can get all in, or they or you can all in them. So again, like the Draven Thresh example, where maybe you can create an all in there. Or like if you're, say, the Vayne and do the Draven Thresh. But generally having the prio means that you can win a lot of matchups that you shouldn't win. Like, it's very common that I'll see whenever I have, say, like a Sovereign duo or like a Challenger duo of like a late game comp like Sivir Emilio or something like that. They'll still win lane against the early game comp of like a Caitlyn or whatever, because they understand wave control and just pushing the wave, getting that prio, and then having the better stats because you're just up a level or you have the minions hitting, those types of things. So that's going to let you win a lot of lanes against like not good players that you shouldn't be winning, basically. And again, you're not even into a good early game champion. Like, you are stronger early game than Kai'Sa, and Nami's stronger than Draven. You just have to avoid their one thing, which is literally just the EQ. If you don't get hit by his EQ, you can't really die or lose anything. And then definitely, yeah, start Q almost every time on Corki and lane. There's very rarely you should ever start Q.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't played Corki since his rework. I used to play him a lot, but yeah, I definitely as well. Like, the build thing, if you really feel this build works better for you, then go for it. But I definitely recommend the Essence Reaver and crit stuff.
Yeah, at the beginning I tried Essence Reaver first.
Yeah.
And it's fine, but I don't know, Manamune just feels stronger. I don't the buffed Manamune just feels stronger, the damage.
And I think it's like it's a completely viable build, so it's not something I'm good. Like, if that's what you prefer, it's completely fine and will work out fine as well. So
yeah. And yeah, we'll see that later. But against like a heavy tank comp like this one, or you know, kind of strong front line, I'll also go Essence Reaver fourth item after Mortal Reminder, and then the fifth one is that Shojin something.
Yeah. Fear Shojin.
Yeah. If they're squishy, then I will go basically full crit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
After Manamune and Trinity Force.
Okay, that's not full crit at all, but yeah, it's a... And so here's another opportunity where I'm thinking about possibly going bot side. Ideally, I would want to push this wave right away and then go outside. So typically, like, the timers that I'm going to try to look to create a play on the opposite side of the map are going to be when I see some type of opportunity to easily break a turret or just get a lot of gold. And so if you're able to ever quickly push a wave, then I would do that. So, like, say you push a wave right as it reaches towards the lane, that's when I would look to possibly go bot side. Or say you get this turret, and then after you get this turret, you get the wave pushed. then now I'm looking to go bot side after this. So you, like, again, you push this wave, you see how you get on the wave before it even reaches the middle point of your thing. Now you have a lot of time to go somewhere else. You recall, you go bot side, you have a very high likelihood of breaking that turret, which is very low. Instead, you're going to fight on really low mana and kind of fucking up your tempo again. So it's kind of just this understanding of like quicker recall timers as well, so we're able to make a play quicker. Whereas you spent 5 more seconds walking somewhere where there was really nothing to do, and then there a little later. But hopefully you at least, I think you are going bot side, so that's good. I don't know why you didn't take the TP thing, but it doesn't really matter.
Because I was scared that he would just run away.
Oh. I mean, fair enough, I suppose. Worked out, so we'll take it. But you should be going bot side after this. Like, you have something to take here, which is a turret.
Okay.
It's like, I get that you want the mid wave. This is a completely reasonable, you know, decision to want this mid wave. But your goal is to get this turret. So even if you are going to go mid wave, you go another mid wave right after, and then you go take that bot turret. Like, we need to understand, especially for, you know, like, ranked. If we can ever have a chance where, or at least 95% of games, if we can have a time where we break a turret and give a turret, I'm happy with that, unless there's a gold bounty on our turret. But like, otherwise, I'm happy with that because it means I put the onus on myself. I get more gold, and yes, the enemy gets more gold too, but I trust that I'm going to carry that. That gold on me is more valuable than that gold on someone else, because that's kind of, you know, the point is I'm trying to carry the game. And so now you left this entire bot lane wave, you didn't get that turret, and you're probably still going to lose your top lane turret at some point as well. It's not like that turret's just going to stay up forever. And now we're relatively, you know, low health and mana as well. We're not really in a great spot because we also kind of got poked out instead of just pushing out that wave, getting the bottom stuff, and then going, recalling, spending our gold, and then potentially, you know, fighting after that. So that's also kind of another thing.
Oh, this is my first stupid death.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not unreasonable though. But I mean, the problem is just you didn't have like your summoner spells up, so it's kind of hard to be as aggressive, yeah. But I mean, I don't think it's an unreasonable death. He's 1 HP. I'm really more concerned about, you know, the play in terms of going bot side and just breaking that turret, because that's something you really could have done both games. Just played both games, played more on like, you know, both sides of the map rather than just sticking to your lane, even in the like later parts of the game. And usually, again, the time we're doing that is after we create an opportunity, by pushing out an additional wave. So like how you push that wave right away, then you have that like, you know, extra 20 seconds to kind of rotate. Whereas if the wave is going there, obviously you don't want to just leave the wave on your lane. Just give the enemy a bunch of free stuff. But yeah.
Yeah.
And now we can see also, like, in the long run, we're losing all that bottom lane gold because that turret, because the wave was pushing the whole time. So now that gold is being lost as well, which is kind of like the stuff in the long run. Also, you could greed this turret, I think, and maybe, yeah. Yeah, that damage is actually crazy. Okay, he's just 125 gold. Never mind, he's like 0.5 or something. Crazy.
0.6. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Jesus. Yeah, and see, like, the reason I'm trying to create a lot of gold, giving you these opportunities to create gold early, is because once we get to 12 minutes, we no longer want to spend a lot of time going topside, for example, or like going to these parts of the map, because we want to start spending time on the same side of the objective as much as possible. I don't mind you going for this wave and then catching one more. You should catch the next one because there's one that's about to come. And then because your set is there, right? You see how the wave comes. You can know that's going to come because you had a bigger stacked wave, so that means that it spent some time there, which means their wave is going to come closer than the midway point. I don't know if that makes sense when I say it like that, but
yeah,
it does. So when you have that information that there's going to be an extra wave that's coming on your side, might as well take it if your team is like looking like you're not going to lose a Baron instantly, right? Which obviously your set was on the side. You had vision, it was never really going to get taken. This is just getting that additional wave, so it's pushing faster, whereas now you see your team kind of has to go back to that top wave to ever really get anything like pushing, whereas it's just even now. So if you just get that one extra push, it means that now the enemy are getting pressured there a lot harder and a lot quicker, which means then maybe someone goes there and we're able to create a Baron opportunity or something like that. So it's mostly like those, just like catching those additional waves, that type of thing is pretty important in the mid game. And ideally, again, your set is on that side because you want him on the opposite side of the Baron, and you want to be on the same side. I don't really like flipping this either. I don't know. First strike Camille is so weird, by the way. I just noticed that. But yeah, we don't really want to let Camille possibly steal because she has really good stealing. So, and she's 3 items. I mean, everything with this fight's fine. Like, your team was kind of running it down for no reason, but At this point as well, you should buy stasis after 3 items because they're fed person's Camille. I don't know
Yeah.
if you do, but
I
yeah.
don't. It's so dumb.
So yeah, because obviously, yeah, Camille is kind of the real danger. We can see, like, and that's something as well to pay attention to in the mid game very frequently. We need to be like, who's the strongest person? What do I need against them to make my game playable? If you're very, you know,
Yeah.
if you're weak, I wouldn't do that, but you're like very strong, so you can kind of afford the stasis here.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't mind hovering here, but you need to be on mid wave like right away. Because when you're just in this position where you're kind of hovering a random like wave because Baron's up or whatever, when you end up just doing something like this, now there's only 2 like outcomes. Either you win the fight and then you don't get that much out of it because all your waves are not pushing, or the enemy kill you and they pretty much instantly win the game off this. Because if they're able to kill you guys here, which again, like Camille completely instant and doesn't kill you guys, but you guys get completely fucked because your mid wave is pushing so far. All your waves are just pushing. You see how you're taking a fight in their jungle with all these waves in a fight that we didn't have any specific indication that the fight would really like work out. We're even gold. The Camille's crazy fed. We end up winning the fight, but like there's so many things that could have gone wrong. And so we just need to be pushing out those waves before we're setting up that fight. You had a lot of time where you were hovering the Baron literally just in the river sitting there when there was a mid wave for reaching your the middle point of the map. If you're just on that wave, then you get control over everything. You get way more value because that mid wave that we currently see would be nearly on their turret by this point if you'd won that fight, and then you get their turret out of it, so you just get more value as well.
Yeah, true. Sometimes I'm just scared that my team's about to die if I do.
Yeah, and I mean that's like obviously reasonable. Your teammates will make random ints. They're going to just do that regardless. And this is also the second time you didn't push out a wave first. Focus on the camps after you push out the wave when you have Baron especially. But yeah, sometimes your teammates are just going to int. There's not really a lot we can do about that, but usually like it's not like you would have been that much further away. You would have been in the mid versus like in the river. Like that's not that different. It takes you like 3 or 4 seconds to walk there. And usually, again, your duo probably will follow you. You're not just gonna like be completely alone. You also ping a lot. You tell your team like attack the mid wave. You spend 2 seconds on the mid wave and then you can go there right away. And the enemy usually come mid because they see you on the wave. They're not just gonna like leave you most of the time. Again, depends on the situation. Sometimes you do have to go right away. But yeah. Yeah, and at this point we'd probably be a bit better off just in mid lane again.
Yeah, this is the, or soon, around here is where it starts to go downhill.
Well, it's kind of the same thing where you're playing on one wave, and yeah, this is probably where you die. Or, yeah. Like, oh, well, never mind, so it doesn't even work out badly.
But
like,
it's not now. Oh yeah, no, it is now.
Oh yeah, there. that's pretty funny.
This is the start of the end.
Yeah, I mean, but you can see like, you guys have 21 kills, they have 10, and you guys are losing in gold. And is that completely your fault? No, you have 15,000 gold. You're the most fed person in the game. But like, you had a lot of opportunities to create this additional gold on a lot of different waves that would make this, like, you know, so a lot of a bigger focus on all these waves. But like, pretty much every time for you, it's just fight, fight, fight. And we see how that leads to pretty much just a 50-50. It's like either you win the fight or you don't, which is obviously, you know, a pretty straightforward statement. But if you're never putting yourself in an opportunity to like you're just putting yourself in 50-50 fights and hoping you play better, basically. And I don't really want to rely on mechanics if I don't have to. Like, even when I watch pro play of League of Legends a lot for like 7 years. Literally every single jungler, like specifically, pretty much anyone, but like any jungler that comes in, like as a rookie, they're almost always playing these like really high mechanical, really hard champions. And then the longer that they're in the league, the more they play Sejuani, like, you know, all these like Draven, just like the easy champions. And the reason they're doing that is because it's just so much less effort if you just put yourself in a good position initially. You just rely on the straightforward things your champion can do rather than trying to outplay people or do some crazy shit. It's pretty much just like what everyone ends up realizing is just the easier way rather than having to put in so much effort to just constantly fight and hope you outplay everyone. And your mechanics are already good enough to be able to win, so then if you put yourself in a position where it's actually easy to win the fight. And usually the way you're going to put yourself in these positions, again, is playing around these waves, keeping track of jungle properly, being on the correct side of the map when the objectives like Baron spawn, and kind of shifting your mindset. like in that type of thing, and then as well keeping track of the actual dangers to you, like in this game, the Camille, instead of kind of just dashing forward to kill a random person, when Camille has a really easy angle on you, keeping track of who's actually dangerous to you, who matters, and then obviously the Heimerdinger thing was just unfortunate. You know, we just didn't see him, and then he one-shot us, so that's more just unlucky. But also, I would be trying to pick my team off as much as possible.
No.
Yeah, because like they have Elder. I would try to pick my team off. I mean, if your teammates follow and, you know, like, or don't listen, rather, like, obviously not much you can do, but that would be what I would be trying to do.
And then they get the Baron.
I don't know why Heimerdinger just bought Murillo's. Really odd, but
Everyone is just weird.
yeah, there. That's a good statement. I like that. And you do farm jungle camps a lot for no reason, because it's like the same thing where they have a Baron, and the real goal is pushing these waves or defending against these waves. And I mean, this is like pretty nitpicky at this point. The game was over. It doesn't actually matter, right? But it's more like generally. There's a lot of times where you're on these, like, again, for me, it's kind of like the wave is the first priority, then we can do whatever we want. So the wave, then we can recall. The wave, then we can ward. The wave, then we can go farm camps. But it's always that. It's almost always the first thing I'm focused on. Even, you know, the wave before hovering that Baron in the river. Just like that needs to be a larger focus. But yeah, I'm gonna share my screen with you.
Yes.
Write out some notes, and then there's ones. Oh, jungle tracking was the one specific thing I'm gonna like explain a bit more.
Exactly.
So remind me to do that once we get to that point. But yeah, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. What champ? Darius, Draven. Draven and Darius are the same. Yeah, Draven and
brothers. Yeah.
I didn't sleep much, so my brain's kind of lagging right now, and I have to coach 4 people today. So.
Oh man.
So okay, so we'll start with the Draven game, especially the early game. So the first thing is, after pushing a wave level 1, look for a ward on jungle camp, if possible. Now, obviously, if you have like an easy kill angle, go for it, and you know your champion really well. So if you see a kill angle, then just go for the kill angle, because you're not going to get ganked level 3 most of the time. So if you don't ward right away, it's fine. But a lot of times when you have nothing to do, like you didn't have anything to do in that game, keep that in mind, and then understand back timers better as well, or recall timers better. Do not need to force random fights early. Okay, my software update thing. Early, just because we are Draven. Oftentimes good to recall on boots. So like there's the situation specifically with the Ezreal where he was higher health than you, he was outranging you, and there were no minions, and you went up and traded with him, and the only reason it worked is because he used his E for no reason, whereas if he just held it, he would have just out-traded you really hard, and you'd get fucked, and then you get stuck in lane. There's a lot of times where you end up getting stuck in lane, and then this might not screw you over right away, because you still have your flash, you have your other things, you're probably not going to die, but then you get stuck in your lane too long, and then if the jungle is pathing towards you, you get screwed over by that, because you're too low, you get dove, and then your game gets kind of fucked. Whereas if you just play for a more consistent kind of, you know, play style, and then you break open the game once you hit your boots or something, because as well, if you're able to hit your boots or a long sword quicker or whatever, you can still create those all-in angles on level 3. It's not like your champion falls off at level 3, falls off, you know, like once people are 2, 3, 4 items, not right away. So you don't have to be so urgent to always push a lead. But it also depends on the matchups. So we'll kind of speak a little bit about matchups as well, where it's like, the first thing is just understanding, you know what I mean when I say prio?
Yes, getting the wave pushed out, and then getting the recall first, etc.
Yeah, so lane prio is almost always better unless you know you can easily all in or can easily be all in. Do you need me to explain this further?
No. So the all-in part is when I can freeze or slow push to then maybe dive or just poke them out. Yeah. And getting all-in is to basically stay under my tower.
Yeah, and so that's pretty much like, yeah, you're only really going to want to be like staying under your tower if you can get all-in, if like, you know, jungle's not pathing towards you as well. So I'll just also, we'll write that in the next point, right? So just generally understand jungle pathing better and time our aggression with jungle. So like, again, I want to make it clear, typically the kind of thing we're going to do is like, we're going to play the first 2 levels just however the lane goes. And then like, based on those first 2 levels, we can then identify, is there a kill angle? Is there not? And so there's going to be a couple of scenarios. One is like, there's a kill angle. If there's a kill angle and you think you can outplay even if jungle's potentially there, then just go for the outplay, because again, you know your champion well, and Draven trading 1-for-1 is also going to be beneficial overall. Even like, you know, Corki still fine if you have the way of pushing, whatever. And then there's going to be a situation where like, you don't really know if you're going to kill, or even the lane's going kind of bad and your jungle's pathing away from you. Well, then your goal there is to recall as quick as possible. So you push out the wave as soon as it comes, immediately recall, spend your gold, get back, right? If your jungle's pathing towards you again, you can be a bit more aggressive, even if, say, you were slightly low, because your jungle's coming. Maybe you even know their jungle's not, because you did, again, like kind of the wording stuff. So these are the types of things to kind of understand. And then, like, does that all make sense? Just
Yes, yes, it does.
And then, so jungle timers is the next thing I'm going to explain. So small camp takes 150 to respawn, and a buff takes 230. And so if we ward a camp, let's say in early game, as in like literally like, you know, after the first wave. So I'm going to say if we ward a camp after first wave, and that camp is taken, then the enemy started on that side, right? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah. For example, if I am on red side, right, so the bot side as dual lane, then I should probably ward the blue buff, right? That wall where the blue buff and the grump is.
Ideally, you're gonna ward. You know how people usually they'll control ward their blue buff, right?
Yes.
Okay, actually, maybe it's just easier if I explain it. With like I'll just show you where to word them. Just go to one of my like random live streams and then show it.
Yeah,
it might be easier. We have an ad here. Shout out to League of Legends. Yeah, that's a nice ad. Yeah, so ideally, and we'll just see how quick I can actually get specific. Basically, I want you wording right like here. Like, do you see where my cursor is?
Yes.
So like basically the reason I want this is because it hides the word from the control word, but you'll still see the grump. What?
Okay.
Well, like,
okay, yeah, no,
it
does
it? Spot, yeah, like you'll find out, because you'll obviously, if you do word it and you see it's revealed, then you'll be like, oh, I need to move it a little, and you'll figure it out after a couple of days.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
And so the reason that it doesn't matter whether you word their blue or their grump is because what are they going to do? They're going to clear blue, then grump. So you get the same information. Either, you know, like if the grump is taken, that means they started right on that side of the map. And if the grump isn't taken, it means they haven't been there yet. So that's basically what we're going to do. So that all makes sense, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And so, yeah, that camp is taken, then the enemy started on that side. And so then further into the timer thing, basically, enemy will spend first minute of the game on the side they started. Then next minute and a half, then I'll just say, then they will go other side until roughly 2:30. Then they will go back to the opposite side roughly 3:45. Does this make sense? Do you have questions about the specific times I've written, or does the way I write it make sense?
Makes sense. What about like champions like Pantheon that will usually just gank level 3?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to explain next, is basically these are all generalizations, as in, yes, first minute they'll probably be on the side they started, until 2:30 they'll be on the other side, and then they'll come back, so they'll be back here again at 2:30, and then they'll probably leave around 3:45 to 4. Now this is all completely, you know, not always perfect, because people are dumb. Like, see, it's almost impossible that I coach a jungler and I don't have to tell them that they need to farm their fucking camps. So 100% this is going to happen where you're going to get ganked at a time they shouldn't be ganking you. But if you're getting, it's not about, you know, being perfect. This is a game where we have to use a lot of inference because we don't have perfect vision. And so these are the timers that we can try to base our aggression around. And then if they end up ganking us on a timer we don't expect, then that's fine, because they're losing out on efficiency. So like, they're still losing out on something, because they could be farming those camps when they're not. So it's like their fault, basically. Also, if you warded a
Okay.
camp at 1 minute, you would find where he would go next. Because if he did, say he went red, Raptors, Krugs, and decided to level 3 gank you. Well, the last camp he would kill is Krugs, and you would see him on the Krugs still, and you would see where he's going. So you would still see that. And if he's starting
Yes.
Gromp, if he goes blue Gromp, then he's not going to blue Gromp gank you because that's a level 2 gank. It's probably not going to work because he's only level 2, and you're probably going to have Cleanse or Flash or whatever. So those,
Yeah.
it's basically just giving us a better chance of surviving that. But generally, you use this as an understanding of where they're going to be, and then past 430, we don't really know unless we have wards. So obviously, like, you can ward more than this, because like another thing is, say you ward early game, and then you know where the jungle is, you know he's not there, you get prio again, you can ward now level 5, level 6, and you get to do that same thing again, because as I told you, small camp takes 150, this one takes 230. So say you just see him take a buff, his buff's not going to be back until, it's 10 minutes, not till 12:30 roughly. And so it doesn't mean he's never going to come back, but it means he has a less, chance. So basically, does this all make sense? Do you have any questions about jungle pathing or anything?
No, that was good. That was good
Okay.
because that's usually a big issue when I play Draven or even Lucian. Those two, then I'll get level 3 ganked. And
Yeah.
they will still stay. They won't even get their other buff. They will stay for a second gank. Oh, bro.
Yeah, and if they do that,
Okay,
like,
so
it's the good thing is usually the players who do that aren't good, and so usually they don't know what to do with the lead, and so a lot of times it's actually really like when I'll see them do that and I'll be down. Like I played against a lot of Warwicks yesterday for whatever reason. I was jungle and they were Warwick jungle. They kept doing this. All of the Warwicks got a lead on me. Some of them were like 8, 9, and 0. I was like 2 and 1 or whatever, and I had gold leads on them all, and I was beating them all because I know they're fucking idiots. And the second that they have to do something apart from gank someone 20 times, they're gonna suck because they don't know what to do after that. So usually it's also kind of nice because they're probably gonna suck later on in the game. And sometimes you get unlucky, all their ganks work out, and you just lose. That's just part of the game, unfortunately.
yeah, my junglers aren't
Yeah.
that good usually. They won't abuse that information.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so definitely, unfortunately, a lot of
Yeah.
people are bad. So, but yeah, then other things in that game, kind of like the mid game, like that breaking open the other side of the map. So a lot of times, so I'll just say like if we are ahead, and our team is behind, we want to fight away from enemy jungle and create small skirmishes. So I'll just write like use second drag as a distraction rather than fighting it. I'll say unless we hit a power spike, right? So like in that situation, you didn't hit your infinity edge, but say you did, maybe it could be different. Or if you just like whatever, maybe you just think like, oh, I'm getting outscaled, I have to fight soon. Maybe there's that. Depends on the specific game. And then as well, often if we take our lane's turret, we can push one more wave, recall, and go other side of map. Does this make sense or no?
Yes, makes sense.
Okay. So yeah, some we talked about in a couple of your games. These are the main things from the Draven game. Is there anything from the Draven game you remember specifically apart from this that we spoke about? I'm trying to think.
No, it was mainly really the matchups and the jungle timings.
Yeah. So yeah, so we spoke about those things. So that going into the Corki game, I would say specific spell tracking in lane for the Corki game is important. So basically like dodge, Draven engage, and we win. I don't like autocorrect, but yeah, like basically Draven engage very easy to dodge. It's the only spell that was scary. Is it an A? Okay, it's that. But his engage is like very, easy to dodge. You have an ability to dodge it. You win the all in, and again, Kaisa wants to trade out of minions, so you don't want to let her do that. And so like all of these things, and it's the same with the Azrael as well. So you need to be pushing the wave so that you have the wave to kind of hide in, and then when the wave is gone, you're just using that time to ward or whatever. So on and so forth, and again, just start dodging those specific spells. So keeping track of those actual specific spells in lane, and then obviously out of lane as well, like understanding what they have, which would be kind of the Camille thing. So like later on in the game, keep track of who on enemy team is dangerous, and itemize against them. Stasis or cam after third item, since we were strong. If you again were weaker, you don't want to waste that gold because you don't have the luxury to do it. But yeah, that from the Corki game. Then push out mid wave before hovering river. Mid prio makes basically just everything a lot easier when it comes to objective setups. And then yeah, just like it's kind of a similar thing, but basically before warding, recalling, rotating, etc., push the wave. Almost always. Obviously, exceptions. You know, I assume you're smart enough to be like, oh, well, there's an Elder Dragon. I'm not going to push a random mid wave that doesn't matter because we need to get the Elder, like whatever. But typically, that's what's going to matter. And then start Q in lane. Start Q. In lane.
Got it.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions or anything?
No, that was great. No, thank you very much. That was awesome. So back to my original point, because I want to be playing more legendary in the future, especially with Draven, because he's like my favorite. Seeing these other Dravens doing so insanely much more damage than me, because that 5 to 10k difference on thousands of games, hundreds of games is quite significant. You would say it's not that important to like get to immortal.
No, I absolutely don't care, and I assume actually that those players probably should be doing less damage, like in reality. Like I don't really know. I've never watched them play, but like I'll see a lot of people just force fights 24/7. They'll basically do exactly what you've done, as we've said. You're just fighting 24/7. You're always trying to fight, be aggressive, and they're gonna do all that, but they're just gonna do it better than you. Like they understand. Maybe they're better mechanically. Maybe they just are slightly better at tracking jungle, whatever. And then because of that, they're able to do slightly more damage. But it's really like that's not the focus. The focus is all these things, and I assume if all these things are done, you're probably going to end up dealing more damage anyways. But I don't think there's anything specific about the damage, really. No.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. No, that was a great session. Thank you.
All right. Then see you later.